touching a little bit for some sideboard cards and Woodland Wanderer. There's a Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury, but this is basically a green-black removal deck. The concern is just speed here. This is not the fastest deck, and there's no copies of Hangerback Walker, one of the better cards you can play on turn 2 against a target red.
Now, Tom going back to a red strategy, something we saw him have success with so much last year. We think about last year and Tom winning back-to-back invitationals and off of the back of Boss Sly. And, you know, this year he's tried things like Bant Megamorph a little bit, which he does have a top 8 with, to his credit, and trying Jamoka's command decks. And, of course, we remember the heroic stretch, but this is, when I think of Tom Ross, this is Tom Ross here.
Yeah, and this is right in his wheelhouse, too. It's a red aggressive deck that has some combo flourishes, which is what we've seen him have a lot of success with as in the invitationals the last year where he won back-to-back. Also, kind of in the same space of it as Infect. It's not, obviously the cards are very different,
yep,
but that kind of strategy is the same thing. You can win just by carving out with creatures and attacking, and if your opponent taps low, you have some combo flourishes in the deck.
Well, we're going to have some beatdowns here. Wild Slash going to take care of the one of the first tree. Swift Spear is now 2-3 thanks to Prowess, and now here comes Zergo as well. So already Zane Houston is down to 16.
And this is the danger spot for Zane's deck here in this kind of matchup. Turn 2 does not offer much for him. He can't play a removal spell on turn 2. The only creature he can cast is Rakshasa Death Dealer. So he's often going to be saying go on the second turn or just casting a discard spell or something. And you need to bring more interaction to the table on turn 2, especially when Ross has a draw this good. I mean, turn 1 Zergo into turn 2 Swift Spear and kill your play is about as good as your draw is going to get.
It'll be a Titan Strength on the upkeep here for Tom as he wants to scry and influence his draw step. Top card's going to go to the bottom. Now he will draw a card. We'll see what comes next here for the boss. He's going to sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. You can already see how easy it is to build up your graveyard in this deck for Become Immense. It's not
trivial.
Hard at all.
It is trivial. And I think Ross has a Dragon Fodder to follow up with. And now we don't even have to care about the combo from Ross's side of the table. He's got 4 creatures in play. Zane will be falling very low this turn, and Tom may be able to win the game simply by alpha striking, even if Zane has a blocker next turn.
And there is the Dragon Fodder. So keep in mind, 2 Prowess triggers from Swift Spear. It's going to be a 3-power creature, and then Zergo's a 5-power creature because of the Titan Strength. So that's an attack for 8. Now Zane's already down to 8. Let's make it 7 with the Fetch Land. Not messing around here. It's a Tarka red deck. Now, it's not a turn 3 kill, but it sure feels like it.
Yep. I don't think I've turned 3 anyone just yet. It is possible. Unlikely.
That is frightening that that's something that can happen in Standard.
Well, turn 3 allows you to Become Immense and Temur Battle Rage.
True.
So if your draw is the right way with enough Fetch Lands and Dragon Fodders and early shots, it can happen. Like I said, very rare. I haven't had it happen yet, but it is possible.
Well, Zane going to search up a Smoldering Marsh, and now he'll draw a card. There is a Swamp. So all 3 colors are online, and if he had something like a Radiant Flame, his life would be pretty good right now. He does have a copy of Kolaghan's command. Ross will draw a card. And now we'll be going to the attack step here for Tom.
Tom's definitely going to respect the possibility of a removal spell. I think his hand's just 2 lands, so this is all he can do.
Oh, I believe he's got a Tarka's command in hand.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
It's a little bit better than 2 lands. Yeah. That's going to be a turn 4 kill. That's what that is. It's Tom Ross is going to win game number 1 here with Zane Houston very quickly. A Tarka red up a game over John.
If your deck is not interacting on the second turn of the game and you don't have a sweeper game 1, it's going to be tough to have a good matchup here.
I think it's going to look a lot like that.
Yeah.
Honestly. So take a look at the sideboards here. And that means Zane needs ways to interact early and often. As you can see in his sideboard, Transgress the Mind, not so much. 2 copies of Rose, 4 Fiery Impulses, 2 Ultimate Price, absolutely. Along with 2 Ruinous Path and 3 Complete Disregard. It's just a lot of removal.
Yeah, so I love Fiery Impulse and Ultimate Price. That's the best removal he has in the sideboard. The 2 copies of Rose, they're a little clunky, but they're fine. I think Ruinous Path is probably too slow, and Complete Disregard does not play very well against the pump spells because 3 mana is so much. That said, Zane still gets to cut a lot of discard spells and bringing in a lot of cheap removal, and Ultimate Price is at the best here because it can stop the combo no matter what's going on. It's not predicated on the creature's power or toughness being in a certain place. So Zane gets to improve a lot here post-board.
On top side, 2 Den Protectors, 2 Fiery Impulse, 3 Rending Volley, 2 Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, 2 Boiling Earths, a Vault Breaker. That's a Spicer, along with 3 copies of Rose.
So I think the 2 copies of Den Protector are no-brainers here. He's playing against Jund colors. They probably have a lot of removal spells. Post-board games slow down across the board, so that's going to be coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rose came in. Tom might actually think that Zane is playing some sort of Obzon deck, and even if he's not, he'll probably have some big blocker at some point, so some of the roast can come in. And I think Vault Breaker is probably okay here for much of the same reason the Den Protector is good.
A little dash there.
Little dash.
Yeah.
It's just another card that gives you a little bit of staying power if the game goes long.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. I got a feeling we'll be able to move on to that backup match here, too, as this one might not take too long, though. Zane will be on the play here for game number 2. In the meantime, we will talk about our Season 3 Invitational Champion here on the Open Series. It's a player we're going to see a couple weeks from now at the Players' Championship. That's Alex Bustecki, coming back against Steve Mann in the finals of our Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey. As a result, $10,000 richer, and he does have this beautiful germ token for your batter skulls, and a couple of different ways to go get it, even though not a lot of time left.
Yeah, it's available to all Open Series players and anyone who signs up for any of our Premier IQs, the 5Ks that we run Sunday at the Open Series events, and the ones that you can also bring to your local area. Now, we're going to have an invitational in 1 week. We're going to have a new token after that. So you're running out of time to get this token. If you really want to get your hands on it, the way to get it, though, any order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or greater.
Now, Tom Ross, as we've mentioned so many times, last year, a banner year here for him. Back-to-back invitational wins, which was, of course, impressive. A deep run of the Players' Championship. One could argue last year was the year of Tom Ross.
Well, certainly on the Open Series. I know that Brad Nelson won the Players' Championship. That's a great accomplishment. But if you're looking from front to back, who had the most impressive year? Last year, it was Tom Ross, in my opinion.
You see the Invitational top 8, 7 Open Series top 8s with 2 wins, a Pro Tour top 8 at Pro Tour Honolulu 2009, 4 GP top 8s as well. It's a very impressive resume, and it looks like it's only going to be getting bigger and better as he's playing a lot more Magic nowadays.
Yeah, a lot of those Grand Prix top 8s, the Pro Tour top 8, they happened 2009, 2010, 2011. He sort of fell out of the game for a little while and then came back in a big way through the Open Series, through the Invitationals, where he started posting those awesome results. Was able to then, again, top 8 some Grand Prix, get back on the Pro Tour, and his resume is pretty stocked at this point.
It is the boss. That is Tom Ross, currently up a game here with the Tarka Red. Looks like he's back in his comfort zone here with this red strategy. I know he's been dabbling in Megamorph strategies and some other things, but again, when I think of Tom, and I think a lot of people at home as well, they think of red.
Yes. Well, in the larger formats, in Modern and in Legacy, it's Infect, which is a different sort of red deck.
This is true. He just likes to be aggressive.
Yeah, but any deck that's aggressive with pump spells that can combo out from a pretty low base, Tom's got to feel very comfortable playing strategies like this. Curious to see how Tom sideboarded. This is where a lot of the Tarka Red players disagree. What's the card you're supposed to be cutting? How much do you lean on the combo? That sort of thing.
Oh, he's all sideboarded up here. He's looking to head back to the Players' Championship number 8 right now on our Season 4 leaderboard. If we get into things today, he'd be in. But needs a good finish this weekend. Probably gonna need a good enough finish next week, and he doesn't need to top it or anything like that. At least not right now.
Yeah, well, depending on what he does here, he might just be locked.
That's true. It's a Cinder Glade to start here for Houston. For Ross, he'll sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire down to 19. Basic Mountain on the way, and we'll see what 1-drop he'd like to play.
Something I also noticed playing a Tarka Red, I've developed a lot of bad habits with my fetch lands because of Modern. Usually all your red fetches are just interchangeable. Here, your Wooded Foothills is better than your Bloodstained Mire because Wooded Foothills can get the Forest, and getting the Forest comes up sometimes in games where you've naturally drawn the Cinder Glade and you need to get double green. The point is, even for a deck like a Tarka Red where you think the fetching is pretty straightforward, it's not. It's still more complicated than even a lot of the fetching that goes on in Modern formats.
Rashasha Death Dealer, the play there for Houston. Fiery Impulse going to take care of that. Here comes Zergo. Houston going to fall down to 18. The follow-up for Ross is a Bloodstained Mire. He'll pass the turn back over to Zane. Zane will draw a card. It's a copy of Murderous Cut. There's also Duress in the hand here for Houston, which is a fantastic card against Tarka Red.
One of the better paths to beating a Tarka Red is get a large blocker in play and have a 1-mana Murderous Cut at the ready. It's very hard for them to attack, obviously. You have something large. And for 1 mana, you can break up the combo if that should come up.
Ross will sacrifice his Bloodstained Mire on Houston's end step. For Houston, he just played a Polluted Delta and passed the turn back. There is a Cinder Glade.
And Woodland Wanderer is that kind of threat.
It's a big one.
And it's not only is a big threat, but it's also a clock. In this matchup, it's often better than Siege Rhino because Siege Rhino has to hang back on defense, gives the Atarka red player a lot of time to find the combo or a roast or what have you. Woodland Wanderer is outside of roast range if you can make it a 6/6, and it's attacking the whole time. It's holding back your team.
There's Heel Cutter. It'll be dashed. Going to be given the beatdowns here, Will Ross. It's removals, but I believe ultimate price to get the job done. Zergo will come across for 2. And now Houston's going to sacrifice that blue to Delta. So down to 15. Clearly, if you're Zane, things are going much better this game than they were the last game.
Well, being on the play is a big deal.
Yeah.
Ross's draw, a lot less explosive. Monastery Swift Spear is the best card in this deck, in my opinion, and Ross doesn't have it this game.
Over to Zane we go. He'll take a draw step. Does have duress in hand. Looks like he's going to fire that off this turn. Get an idea of what Tom Ross is working with. A Roast, to Become Immense, an Abbot of Carol Keep, and a Bloodstained Mire. Curious to see which spell he wants to take.
Well, he's trying to set up Woodland Wanderer, then probably Become Immense is the one to take, as that could just punch through a 6/6, and Roast doesn't do a whole lot.
Giving it a long thought here is Houston, as he does consult his hand. Remember, he's sideboarding into a very removal-dense deck after sideboard.
And I like keeping in duress. Target Red's got all sorts of spells, Dragon Fodder, Whirling Outburst, plus all the combo pieces. But I would have to imagine cards like Transgress the Mind, Ruinous Path, the slower stuff. It's probably all on the board right now.
Yep, there goes Become Immense. Jungle Hollow. Gain a little bit of life, thank you much.
1 copy.
Yeah. Looks like a Tarkus Command may have been the draw here. There's Abbot of Carol Keep. Take a look. Oof. Whirling Outburst is the reveal, and that's one that, you know, is very good in the matchup.
Yeah, it stings. Losing that one stings.
I think that's one of the few that Tom could reveal there. That's pretty bad news. Here's a Murderous Cut. Take care of Zergo. Bloodstained Mire pass the turn back over to Houston. Wooded Foothills the draw. Might have a 6/6 Woodland Wanderer on the way.
Yep.
I'll sacrifice this Wooded Foothills first. Will Houston. We'll see what land it's going to be. It'll be a forest. And now here comes the big one. There's the 6/6. This is the kind of threat, as you mentioned, you really want against Darker Red. It's huge. It has vigilance.
Yeah, this is a perfect card against the Target Red. There's all sorts of matchups in Standard where this card isn't worth a whole lot. 4-mana creatures are already a little shaky when Ochitai's Command is so popular. A lot of the Abzan and Banned style decks can remove it with a number of effects very easily. Against a Tarka Red, though, this is one of the better creatures you can have in Standard. If you're backing this up with removal spells, that's a very good game plan.
Ross will draw. It's a mountain. That mountain joins Roast and Atarka's Command. And now he's going to attack. And if I'm Zane, I'm just taking it.
Yes. There's no way I'm risking a Woodland Wanderer in combat. Zane's hand is just a removal spell. He knows that there's a Roast in Ross's hand. Next turn, he gets to untap and threaten Murderous Cut and start attacking. He's also just winning the damage race on the table right now. He doesn't need to do anything too risky.
Duress a nice draw here, too. Gets a lead out with that. You see the Roast, the Atarkus Command. There's the mountain. Murderous Cut in hand. Gotta take the Roast here.
And I like taking the Roast out of the hand because this means that Houston can be pretty liberal blocking because there's no way to pump through, and he's still got the Murderer's Cut in the chamber. So if Ross draws something great, Zane still has a trump ready.
A big chunk of damage there from the Woodland Wanderer. Ross going to fall down to 11. Now we know Tom has got a little bit of bluff in his game, but you can only bluff so much in situations like this.
Well, your opponent's looked at your hand for the last couple times.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do. I think Culligan's command may have been the draw here. Another attack for 6.
And I would just still hang tight. There's no reason for Houston to make a move.
Yeah. He's got enough mana to react however he wants to.
Yep.
Ross will draw. It's another mountain. He'll play that. And now I think on the end step we might see this Culligan's command here. The most it selects.
Probably shock and raise dead the Death Dealer would be my guess.
Sure. Either way, it's going to be a game winner.
Yep.
Zane Houston going to win game number 2 here over Tom Ross. Jun to Atarka Red getting ready for game number 3.
So I'm going to weigh in now with some Atarka Red analysis.
Go for it.
I strongly dislike leaving in Atarka's command in these kind of matchups.
Okay.
It's not intuitive because Atarka's command is so powerful. But in matchups like Jun, Abzan, these kind of decks, you win one of 2 ways. You win by you play a curve of creatures and you kill every blocker they put on the table. That's one way you can win. The other way that you can win is they tap out for something and you combo out. Atarka's command doesn't do anything in either of those games. It's only good in the games where you go wide, they have a sweep, they don't have a sweeper, but they have one blocker, and you're able to just use that to punch through the damage over the course of several turns. And those kind of games happen a lot less frequently, in my opinion, than the you need to beat one blocker, or you're curving out or trying to assemble the combo.
It is, as you mentioned, it feels counterintuitive to board out Atarka's command.
I started winning a lot more with this deck when I started sideboarding out Atarka's command against decks that are packing a lot of removal.
Well, we'll see if Tom does, because he's going back to the drawing board right now.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, it's not an intuitive thing. Atarka's command is excellent in Modern. The deck's called Atarka Red. It doesn't make sense that you'd want to cut that card. But in matchups like this, I think it underperforms pretty consistently.
we see the options there for each player. And, when it comes to deck building and sideboarding, all of that stuff, obviously you're able to weigh in, especially with red decks. And someone else who's fantastic at that, Patrick Chapin, obviously. His Next Level Library. We have Next Level Magic, Next Level Deck Building. It's for all skill levels. It's easily available nowadays. And it can kind of teach you some backwards thinking like you're mentioning right now.
2 great books here. Next Level Magic with a focus on your play. Next Level Deck Building, as you would assume, a focus on deck building. They're for players of all ability levels. If you're new to the game, they're incredibly valuable resources. And I still go back and read these books and learn a lot. They're available on paperback and ebook right now at StarCityGames.com/nextlevel.
Unfortunately, the Innovator not here this weekend.
Had a wedding to go to. Again, congratulations to Paul Rietzel.
A married man.
A married man.
Magic Hall of Famer. Very happy for him. Though rumors floating around that we might see the Innovator at the Season 4 Invitational.
He's a hard man to pin down.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak for him. But there have been some rumors swirling. The man does like Las Vegas. So.
And who doesn't?
I start having.
Oh, here we go.
Crisis of faith kind of stuff happening to me maybe a day or 2 into the Vegas excursion.
I have a pretty general rule of Vegas, no more than 3 days.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, why am I going there for 7?
Yeah.
And that's none of your business.
Yeah. Eventually what happens at every Vegas trip is you start doing things that you can't do around people that you know. Whatever that is, that's what it becomes eventually. There's no way to avoid it.
Yeah.
For a while, you can enjoy, dining with your friends, maybe playing a little bit of the casino, that's your thing, taking in a show.
Reading books.
A lot of social
like
options.
myself.
Eventually, you run out of those things to do. You've lost a lot of money. You're desperate to feel something. And then the rails come off the trip. Yeah. It's a lot to happen if you're out there for too long. So.
It's not a matter of if. It's when.
When.
Yeah. Vegas always wins.
Yes.
I think 4 days my max. 4 days.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm planning on driving back Sunday. Because Sunday that's the show's over. We get out kind of early. That's asking for big trouble. Big trouble.
Tom, going to start off with a Zergo here. You saw Houston take a mulligan, scryed, and now we're underway. Going to start off with a Cinderglade. On the upkeep, Tom will cast Titan Strength.
A play I know he loves.
It's one I see him do a lot. I like it too. Likes to scry on the upkeep. God's willing, Titan Strength, whatever.
It's like a cantrip, basically.
It's essentially the same thing. Now Tom has another Titan Strength. Oh yeah. Gonna get him down to 12 on turn 2. Scry twice as well. Fix that draw. Wooded Foothills the draw. Let's see what's on turn number 2 here for Zane Houston. He's gonna fall down to 11. It's a basic swamp.
Now, these kind of draws, these are the kind of draws where Tarkus Command can be good, because Ross might get Zane low, but not quite to lethal, and then a Tarkus Command could be a good finisher.
Abdicare will keep the draw. Curious to see if Zergo wants to come in or not.
Well, he's got an Abbot in his hand, and I think a Wild Slash as well. So if he hits a land, it's incredible. Does he need to get that greedy right now?
Now, a little unclear what's going on in Tom's hand. I'm not sure there's a Wild Slash there.
Okay. Well, then this is a much simpler play in that
There's
case.
Abbott. There goes Chandra. Just past the turn back. Fiery Impulse to draw here for Zane. A lot of lands over here for Houston. He's going to sacrifice one of them, go down to 10. One of the things about a Tarka Red now and the red deck in Standard, it doesn't really have the ability to burn you out.
You don't have Stoke the Flames. You don't have Boros Charm. A Tarkus Command can be that card sometimes. But yeah, I've definitely lost games with this deck getting someone down to 3 and just having no shot at punching through the last couple points.
There's another Death Dealer. And now there's a main phase Fiery Impulse. Doesn't want to get too cute, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, getting too fancy here is a recipe for disaster.
Tarkus Command the draw. And now all Tom can do is just pass the turn back. Does have a copy of Chandra in hand, but no third land just yet.
Looks like Houston's hand is all lands, though.
Yep.
Consolation here for Zane is that Death Dealer is a nice place to sink some mana when you're flooding out.
He'll play a Bloodstained Mire, sacrifice that. There is a Sunken Hollow. And now here comes an attack, and at least one pump. So 4 damage coming through. Might see Tom fire for Titan Strength on the Death Dealer on the end step.
That's a little desperate for the current board state.
Well, Den Protector was the draw. Not a great one, obviously. We'll just have to pass the turn back yet again. Over to Zane Houston we go. He'll draw. There is a Forest. And how aggressive will he get with the Death Dealer? There's one pump, in for 4.
Well, it seems like he wants to leave up mana to play around a shot the next turn, so he's just hitting for 4 a turn right now.
Now will Tom consider the Titan Strength? And the answer is no. Draws a card, another copy of a Tarkus Command, pass the turn back. Zane might be thinking Kolaghan's Command here. He can get his Death Dealer back, maybe shock him. But he's just going to hold tight with the removal spell.
Yeah, my preference here is also just the Kolaghan's Command does a lot of different stuff, so you don't need to be in a rush to play it.
Here's Duress. Tom give that hand a long look. And here's the grip. 2 Tarkus Commands, Titan Strength, Teamer Battle Rage, Den Protector, and that Chandra.
I would probably select Titan Strength out of this hand, but nothing here is all that threatening. Obviously, he has to take something, but there's no obvious card to select there. With Ross tied up on mana and really needing to draw lands and all that kind of stuff, I would just take the 1 mana spell, all other things being equal.
Zane gonna sacrifice the fetch land, go down to 8.
And now, if Zane wants to, he can pump twice. He knows there's no shock in hand. If Ross draws a shock next turn, well, you have Kolaghan's Command to get it back. And if he draws anything else, your Death Dealer is lethal next turn.
There's 1 pump. Only going to serve in here for 4. Going to leave Kolaghan's Command up still. Tom will draw. It's a mountain.
I guess the reason that he can do this is because he can just go Kolaghan's Command, kill your play, untap, and pump 3 times for lethal.
Yep.
So this is a safer way to do it.
Yeah, if Tom were to tap out for Chandra, for example, this turn.
Right. Plays his Den Protector,
Oh, there's Chandra. Pass the turn back. Command on the way. Kill that. Get back the Death Dealer. Now Houston will untap. He'll draw a card, and assuming the mana cooperates, he can pump 3 times. He's going to organize the mana here just to make sure. There's 3 pumps, and there are the beatdowns, and that is going to do it. Zane Houston's going to win this match over Tom Ross, 2-1 for Houston in his Jund deck. He moves on to 4-0. Tarkaret's going to slide down to 3-1 here for Tom Ross. It's a tough loss here for Tom, but for Zane, off to a great start with this deck.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, Jund-style decks are going to be pretty good against a Target red. I don't think Houston's deck game 1 is really set up well for the matchup. A lot of discard, a lot of slow sorcery speed removal spells. Nothing really great to play on turn 2, but post board with 4 copies of Fiery Impulse and 2 copies of Ultimate Price, he should be able to slow down the game long enough to get to things like Woodland Wanderer or Death Dealer with a bunch of mana up.